Everyone was panting hard after the third wave of monsters was eliminated. Evident exhaustion was seen on their faces as they quietly ate their rations. None of them had the energy to light up a fire and cook the drops from the monsters. Close by was a large pile of meat from the monsters left behind when they disappeared after being killed. "What are we going to do about all that?" Han indicated with his head at the massive pile of meat. Looking up at Han, Jackie put down her ration pouch. "Do we even have the ability to take all that with us?" "Don't worry about it," Jimin said. She was leaning against a large rock that was formerly a part of a wall or ceiling. Unlike the rest of them, Jimin, Liz, and Vanessa still had their helmets on as they relaxed and tried to regain their stamina. To elaborate on Jimin's words, Liz, who hadn't talked that much, explained, "After a certain time has passed, the item seems to disappear if no one has claimed them. It's a strange place, this dungeon," Vanessa quietly said. After hearing the explanation, everyone became quiet, just thinking about the implications. Though this place was a simulation, some of them had begun thinking that the dungeon was a real place a person could travel to. Taking a sip from her pouch, his mother said, "I guess this is the reason why some people can spend all their time inside the simulation and not come out. You know how the display panel next to the door keeps track of the time used?" Jaehwa randomly asked as she sat on top of a crumbling slab of rock, which littered the vast interior. With the way she was swinging her feet, it gave her a childish appearance. "Are you talking about the ones where the people have been inside for a month?" Jackie asked. Pointing to Jackie, she nodded as she sipped on her food. Swallowing, Jaehwa exclaimed excitedly, "Yeah, those ones! I've been wondering how they're able to stay inside of the training rooms for so long." Closing his eyes, Han leaned against a rock similar to the one Jimin was resting against, though he didn't have his helmet on. It was relaxing, just resting and listening to everyone talk about random things that occurred in a new reality. It didn't take long before he felt footsteps as someone approached him. The individual sat down next to him, causing him to open his eyes to see who it was. "How are you doing, little brother?" Jennifer asked. Smiling. "Just enjoying this moment before we had to move deep into this floor." Moving to nudge Jennifer with his shoulder, bumping against hers, he said, "You seem to be doing pretty decent with handling all the monsters." Jennifer lifted up her hand and clenched it into a fist. She was quiet as she opened and closed the hand a couple more times, as if trying to figure out the right words to say. Not wanting to hurry her, he just leaned back against the stone and closed his eyes. "Sometimes, I wonder if we're the same people we were back before all this happened," Jennifer commented, her voice light and filled with wonder. Waiting for her to continue, Han was silent. Breathing in slowly and exhaling, Jennifer continued. "After each wave was finished, I felt like dealing with the next one became marginally easier. Once I sat down, I thought about how much I've changed compared to the days where I could just walk with you to school before going to morning practice. I feel stronger, as if I'm no longer the same person. It's likely part of what makes this place so unusual, like how the monsters disappear and the dropped items," Han explained. "Which makes sense for it to be called a training simulation. Just like how you guys could go to the gym and lift weights, this place is likely making all of you stronger with each monster that's defeated." He glanced at Jennifer and saw her grinning. "Are we finished? I'm ready to fight against more monsters," Lulu whined. Han grinned, seeing how impatient Lulu was with getting back to the fighting. Jackie rolled her eyes at how Lulu was chomping at the bit to return to the fray. Upon hearing Lulu's demanding tone, everyone began getting up, including Jimin and her group, who acted in their apathetic manner about the whole situation. When seeing how Jimin and her two comrades acted, he was aware that their apathy was something that confused the others. But instead of confronting the issue, the others just took Jimin's group behavior as something they just had to deal with. As the three got up, they walked over to where many of them were congregating. Ivy and Ruby both looked curiously at the three, considering they never removed their helmets. Even with how they were cold to everyone, though if a question was asked, Jimin generally answered it. As Han got up, he looked back at his sister to see that she had returned to her usual demeanor. He offered her a hand, getting a smile. If we were still in school, I could keep bragging to my classmates on how lucky I am. Jennifer winked as she patted her butt, dusting the dirt on her suit from sitting down. Rolling his eyes, as usual, he turned and walked next to her as they headed over to where everyone was standing. For the most part, they looked ready to head deeper into level. Grace was helping Harmony with putting away her food pouch. Off to the side, his mother was looking around the camp, making sure nothing was left behind. Though it was a simulated environment, they tried to keep a small footprint. This time was his mother's turn to make sure the site was clean. Jackie noticed him and Jennifer walking towards them. How many waves do you think we're going to be facing this time? Honestly, I'm not sure. This area is like an underground field, so it feels a little random how we're encountering the monsters, Han said as he raised both hands and shrugged his shoulders. Harmony looked up at the ceiling of the underground landscape. It's hard to think of this place as being underground, considering the glowing lights up there. As if entranced by something. Don't you feel like all of this is part of an actual place? With the ruins here and others scattered about, part of me wonders if those townspeople are real. I can agree with feeling like that. The artwork and other signs of life we've seen more often, the deeper we're going. With us never being this deep before, I'm sure that we'll be seeing more stuff we can't explain. Lacey commented. Once they were ready, all of them activated their helmets. The world for them returned to the slightly sterile view through the monitor inside. With the help of the map creating tools in the helmet, they were able to walk to areas that were still unexplored to help locate the stairs to the level below. Not having this ability would be difficult, with some regions having grass that was taller than a person. Han looked at the tall grass and vegetation, thinking this place was magical. Though they had never seen any animals typically seen in nature, a feeling of critters existing didn't leave his mind. The frequent discussion of whether this place was a simulation or not was understandable, with how tangible and alive it felt. As he was walking through the brush, Han soon found himself on a dirt path. Just like the others they had seen through their adventure inside the dungeon, he was reminded of how unusual everything seemed. Another one? Jaehwa asked to no one in particular. As each member of their party stepped onto the path, their reaction was just as uninterested as Jaehwa's. Want to try following this one? Lacey asked. It'll likely be like all the other and not lead to anything, Hina remarked. Instead of discussing the matter any further, people just followed the path, their feet crunching on the gravel as they looked around for any monsters. A rustling noise was heard, and a trail of parting tall grass could be seen heading towards them, though it was troublesome with only seeing the top of the grass parting away. Jennifer stepped up with a spear in hand. I got this one, she announced, sounding happy to have something to do instead of just walking in silence. Looking at the trail, heading in their direction, Han thought something was off. He didn't have the same feeling as he got from being targeted as on previous floors. Jennifer. He paused, trying to understand the feeling he was having. As he was about to stop his sister, multiple trails popped up behind the initial one, but instead of following the first one, the others appeared to be converging on the first. Jennifer also appeared to have caught sight of what was happening due to the way she would pause in her steps. She still raised up her spear, when it looked like whatever was approaching them was about to crash out of the grass. Feeling it to be unusual, several others, like Ruby and Ivy, took out their weapons. It wasn't out of nervousness, but more of caution. Bursting out and onto the road, Han and everyone else were startled by what they saw. A woman tumbled out and onto the road, blood covering her face and running down her armor. She gave off the appearance of someone who had been engaging in a hellish battle. At some point, she realized that she had fallen and was struggling to get back up. When Han looked down, he noticed that the woman was clutching at her stomach. He was confused by the appearance of this woman, and judging by the reactions from others, they too were thinking it was a strange incident. Where did this woman come from? Lulu asked. Quiet! I think she's saying something, his mother sternly yelled. She walked over to the woman, and his mother got down onto her knees. With gentle hands, his mother rolled the woman so that the woman was on her back. On her back, it was easier to see that the woman's mouth was moving. With the help of the suit, Han was soon able to hear what she was saying. I left them behind. Please, please, help them. I'm sorry for leaving all of you. The woman kept whispering feverishly. As Han looked back at the tall grass, he noticed that the things trailing behind the woman were heading back to wherever they came from.